All right, folks, we are back on Wade's World, and today I am a little pissed off because I don't like liars, and I'm seeing one of the biggest ones parade around on the internet today with no sense of responsibility or honesty to just fess up for doing something bad and having it live streamed in front of thousands and millions of people, but instead dig further into the bad thing you've done just because you got a little bit of clout and you can manipulate people around you and your fan base to make people think you're some kind of political martyr for a group. Instead, use real-world current events and atrocities, your fan base, who will never in any way, shape, or form say you've done anything wrong, or the people that orbit you, to tell a story that just isn't true so you can save face and make sure that you look like a victim in a situation you created by being an absolute moron and a piece of shit. You don't know I'm talking about Hasan Piker, the political streamer on Twitch. I guess he's the biggest political streamer on Twitch. Don't really know. Don't really care. Not here to talk about the guy's politics, although he seems to interject them into any conversation that involves criticism of him or his actions. On the slate this time is the fact that he was on live stream a couple of days ago, and I say fact because it's been proven that he is shocking his dog with a shock collar in front of his fan base and the world to see, yet he's denying it, lying about it, and then he's doing the bullshit moral play like all of us have framed him because we're a bunch of grifters, right-wingers, ideological Nazis, you know, the buzzwords that people say when they do something indefensible, they can't defend it, so they just call you every name in the book to try to get people to say, yeah, no, that's right, that guy's a bad person for calling you out on doing some bullshit. I would not have even covered anything Hasan has done regardless of the political leanings I have or he has, but this has nothing to do with politics. The man shocked his dog, and it seems like it's a pattern of behavior that he does to exert control because he's not a good dog trainer. He hasn't trained his dog well. He's lazy, and there's this weird dynamic of power which he wants to use his dog as some sort of prop on stream. We're going to get into it all. I just had to say that's the reason I covered this. I don't like to see dogs getting mistreated. I've had dogs pretty much all of my life. I just got my first dog as an adult, and I can never, in a million years ever, think of putting a shock collar on the dog to try to control him instead of doing my job as a dog dad / trainer and communicating with my puppy / dog in a way that's both humane and isn't involving a shock literally to their system to get them to do what I ask them to do or to get them to listen. That's bullshit, lazy training. And by the way, I'm not saying there are not times when an e-collar, as they're calling them now, shock collar, prong collars are not useful. I mean, for the most rare cases, dogs that have been abused and don't have any sense of training and or are very reactionary and violent based on their abuse or neglect or whatever else that's happened to them in their lives that has to be trained out of them, or dogs that are specifically bred and trained for attack and recovery, or dogs that are specifically trained for police work, things like that, where it's the most extreme cases, not a designer dog that apparently he's tried to convince was a rescue bullshit that sits on your stream damn near as a prop in your LA mansion. The audacity of this motherfucker and everyone that orbits him to use some sort of moral high ground and act like they know better than anybody else about how to treat dogs and how to treat people is bullshit. We're going to talk about it. This is the first clip. This went down a couple days ago. It's been a whole week of seeing clips of this dude continually mistreating his dog and then brushing it off as if it's nothing happening and he's just training his dog. He's just setting a standard for what he's supposed to do as a dog trainer to keep his pup in line. It's bullshit. Spoken like a true narcissist. But here is the first instance of what we came to know as Hasan shocking his dog.
Of all of America's much more consequential violence, okay? It's the same reason as to why America, Kaya, please just fucking go, just stop. Jesus Christ, what are you doing? You're being such a baby. It's just...
So not only do we get Hasan shocking his dog, which we'll go back and watch in slow motion, then complains about the dog yelping after the action he did to make the dog yelp, and then calling the dog a baby. I don't know about you guys, but like I said, I've raised dogs all my life. There's been no point in time where I've heard my dog yelp, whether I've stepped on them accidentally, whether they have gotten into something and hurt themselves or whatever, whether they've gotten into it with another dog and you've had to go in and save them. When my dog has yelped, when any dog has yelped, my first instinct isn't to go Why are you being such a baby? What kind of attitude is that? Who reacts to their dog being in pain like that? To me, the only person that reacts to a dog being in pain like that is someone that has either inflicted it multiple times before or that acts as though their dog is being dramatic because they're so used to doing the said thing that made the dog react in the first place that the dog shouldn't react that way because they've had it done to them many times. Why are you reacting like that? So apparently, by the way, this is something that I even found crazier. I'm not a massive Hasan stream watcher. One, up until probably the last year or so, I haven't really been as politically inclined, especially on YouTube. Secondly, I don't see eye to eye with anything this motherfucker talks about outside of probably Israel-Palestine, which I think a lot of people can agree has been an atrocity going on in the Middle East. Hopefully is starting to turn the other way. But regardless, now that I am watching this clip, he has, I think, what is a Tibetan Mastiff? I'm not exactly sure. That's what it looks like, some form of a Tibetan Mastiff dog laying on an elevated bed. I've seen elevated beds used for dogs before for joint problems and you know, just other things that keep them off the floor, maybe for vacuuming underneath, whatever. But he has this dog sitting on what looks to be a bed that's kind of too small for it already, I'll be honest. Isolated to a spot in the room, and as soon as the dog
violence
takes a step off,
it's the same reason as to why America, Kaya, please just fucking go, just stop.
He clearly hits something that makes the dog yelp. Now, theory number one that was going around on the internet, which I thought was hilarious, and this shows you how deeply entrenched people can be when it comes to following a political streamer, which, by the way, is dangerous in its own right. We've seen online how political leanings and political ideology can warp a person's entire being, like the way they think, not just about the world, but about situations that are clear in front of your face. They will use whatever political leaning and ideology they've developed by watching someone like a Hasan to look at a situation like this and make things up in their mind just so they can't see the reality of the situation in front of them. And those people I saw saying, no, she caught her nail, she being the dog, it's a girl. She caught her do nail, which is like the little side nail on the dog's foot that raises up a little higher than the rest of its paws. She caught it on the bed. And in no way, shape, or form could that even be possible. And again, just look at the situation again.
Okay? It's the same reason as to why
dog steps off.
America,
Hasan sees it.
Kaya
rolls his eyes to be like, oh my God, my dog has barely moved. What other thing could I do than what he's about to do?
Yeah, please
reach over with his left arm,
just
touch something as she goes back to sit down.
Go
now, you show me where this supposed dew claw catches. Jerks immediately. Paw on the ground,
just
immediately jerks, yelping as she's trying to bring her foot up. Immediately. That dog has been shocked. It's clear as day. It goes from slowly getting back to whatever place it's supposed to be in its confines and its shackles.
He's just fucking just stop.
To yelping.
Oh.
Now he looks back. No, hey, are you okay? Hey, let me get up from my stream for a second and let me check on my dog.
Jesus Christ, what are you doing?
Yell at her again. Yeah, that'll solve the problem.
You're being such a baby.
Being such a baby. Meanwhile, again, we haven't gotten to this point, but to me it's clear he's reached over and used what I assume is some sort of remote for a shock collar to shock his dog back into submission. Again, there's only rare circumstances where shock collars, e-collars, whatever you guys want to call them, and we're going to show that it is not what he said it was, a vibration collar. No dog is screaming out in pain from vibration. These things are rarely used on residential dogs like this, especially the temperate of this dog who sits in a room all day in a mansion. There's no need for that kind of, involvement from an owner other than to just, again, make sure your dog is completely submitted to being a statue in a corner of a room, which is fucking insane. So that was the incident. So now Hasan reads his chat. Listen to this.
You're making her stressed. She just literally is so incredibly spoiled from my mom. No, she doesn't want to come over here to see what's up. She just wants to fucking roam the house because she got to roam the house when I was gone. And she needs to literally have the same structured, regimented. I think that clip went to Trump's big baby.
What the fuck is he talking about? His dog wants to roam the house like any other dog would, but instead, because his mom spoiled the dog while he wasn't there, instead he needs to reassess and reinstitute the structured, regimented, boot camp? He didn't finish the sentence. I don't know. Training program where I have my dog isolated to a corner of the room, and if it moves a muscle, I hit the shock button? What is that? I don't know how that's healthy for any dog. How is that training a dog? What are you training it to do? What's the purpose of the training? To sit for hours? Because I know this dude is live for 6-7 hours a day. You take a look at the clips here. They're from VODs that are like 8 hours long. Is that the point? Have your dog submitted into position for hours and hours on end to not move, to not drink, eat, walk? I don't understand it. It's a joke. Anyway, that's the first clip. We go from that to Hasan's explanation the same day, the same stream as to what happened with his dog.
Oral arguments on Thursday.
Oh my God.
New CBS.
Is there like a fucking LSF video or something? Is that why there's like hella people coming in here and screeching? Is that what's going on? Oh, classic.
Look at the tone. Oh, classic. Here we go again. People just can't get enough of saying I'm doing something wrong when I've clearly done nothing wrong. Like the victimization of himself before even remotely addressing what he clearly did, and already trying to spin the narrative that he's the victim here, that everybody's piling on, that everybody hates Hasan. It's bullshit. But again, you see manipulation already taking place. You see a narcissist at work. This dude's a fucking fraud.
It started on D, then H3, then LSF is the classic pipeline. I'm gonna fucking die, dude. Yes, I am incredibly abusive to the not only best trained, but also the best behaving and most spoiled dog on the planet. Is from when Kaya yelped. Yeah, she yelped because she fucking clipped herself on something when she was getting off the bed.
Not correct. We've already shown she didn't clip herself when she was getting off the bed. Also, again, this whole, oh, she's the best taken care of, most well-trained, well-behaved. No, that's not a dog that's well-trained. A well-trained dog and a dog that's been trained in submission are not the same thing. And I think any dog trainer would tell you that. Communicating with your dog, being able to do things in a congruent order with positive reinforcement usually is the way that dogs become well-trained, that they trust your words and your actions and your commands over, oh, you're not listening, let me press a button. That's not being well-trained. I could put a collar on a human being. Matter of fact, I could put a collar on Hasan and push the button enough times every time he spoke that it shocked him that he probably stopped speaking. Does that mean he's well-trained? Or does that mean he's fearful of the thing I got in my hand? Is there open communication between us then? Or is he scared that I'm going to zap him one so that he'll shut his yap again? Matter of fact, I would love to see Hasan use that same collar, strap it around his neck, and go ahead and demonstrate for us just how safe and effective it was. Now, this is a week later, and we're going to get into some manipulation he's already done to try to hide what he did to his dog. So that's not going to happen. But no, that isn't a source of well-training. That is taking shortcuts to put your dog in a position to only obey this bad boy. Also, just so I'm clear, this is a remote for my lighting system. Then there was a close-up of the collar that his dog has, which I think has an air tag on it, but clearly does look like an e-collar. And the e-collar that she has, we'll get into in a second, at least what we believe, we meaning the people that have a brain and have actually looked at the potential collars that this could actually be. I'll show you in just a little bit. This is what it looks like.
Israel. So all this does is breed resentment against Israel, and also depending on
look at how small. Dude, I didn't even know this was another clip where he's like, she's 3 or 4 steps off the bed, and he immediately, in the middle of conversation about God knows what, that he wants to virtue signal over,
Israel, and also depending on how,
has to just stop immediately and dart over. Like, how dare you defy me, dog, by stepping off your plane of existence, your allowed place of living. Look at that. I'm confused. Like, does it never drink water? Does it never, like, move? It's not healthy for a dog at all, just to be forced into a spot to stand like a statue. Here is a sped up time lapse of what his dog looks like in his stream. Again, not a big Hasan stream watcher, so I didn't know just how extreme this got, but
what's going on, everybody? I hope everyone's having a fantastic evening, afternoon, pre-noon, no matter where you are in the world. I'm Hasan Piker, and this is the Hasan broadcast.
And we see the dog, like you'd imagine, does not leave its stoop. It's almost like Stoop Kid from Hey Arnold. And I don't even feel comfortable necessarily making jokes about this because it's so weird. But legitimately, we're going on 2 hours here. This dog has minimally moved.
It is emblematic of all of America's much more consequential violence, okay? It's the same reason as to why America, Kaya, please just...
This is the same stream.
Stop.
The same stream. He shocks her into submission, and she gets another 2-hour timeout. Four hours and 21 minutes that dog sat there. Now, again, I know certain dog breeds are used to more lounging time than others. Don't know about a Tibetan Mastiff. Usually I'd think those are work dogs, dogs that do like to have a task, that do want to be moving and working and providing. And I think that's what that dog is. But again, that's almost insane to watch. 4 hours of a dog unconsciously being kept to a specific area. That's not a puppy. Like, again, a puppy is a little different. Like, you're training a puppy to understand the confines of a house versus outdoors, where they don't use the restroom in the house because that's their place of living. Just like when you're trying to crate train your dog and you're trying to get them used to the fact that they need to understand they can't poop in the house, they can't pee in the house, and when you leave, that they can't tear things apart, things like that. But this is not a puppy. From what I understand, he's had this dog for years. And again, even in that circumstance, I would never, my puppy is 9 weeks old. I would never confine Rocky to the backside of my stream at any point in time, period, place, ever, and just allow him to sit there with a shock collar on. And anytime he moves that I don't want him to move, I hit the little button and just, again, force him into submission. They need to be social. They need to be adventurous. They need to understand that as their crate, small place, becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, their home is this house. And they should be able to walk through it freely because that is their place. It actually gets them more accustomed to this being their place. It's insane. Now, again, if your dog just wants to sit there for hours and hours with the water bowl nearby, that's different. That's not the case. This dog tries to get up and he gets, again, shocked back to his position. Let's hear Hasan's response for what exactly he was doing in the clip, where just so happens to simultaneously lead something with his left hand, and as he reaches out with his left hand, his dog yelps out in pain and forces its way back onto its, island of relevancy. By the way, I should mention, this is a day later, where Hasan has now had the opportunity to go offline, gather what looks to be a shitty defense and a completely fabricated story of events, and this is what he came up with the next day.
What were you reaching for in the clip? What do you think?
So apparently Hasan keeps a Zen on his table, and he was reaching for his Zens because that makes any sense whatsoever. By the way, look at the smug attitude and the way he responds to the question. This is what I was reaching for. Feel stupid yet? No, motherfucker, but you're going to in just a second.
That's where all my fucking Zentins are.
So he says that's where all his Zentins are. Notice, though, he doesn't ever actually pop a Zen in the clip or any time thereafter when he's talking about he was reaching for his Zens. And yeah, you could say, oh, that's because his dog stressed him out and he forgot about it. The state of events made him forget. Sure, that's one explanation. Or he wasn't reaching for a Zen and wasn't about to pop one. Here is what I think, my opinion, is fable number 2 told by Hasan. And again, we're just lining them up at this point. Here is him speaking on the collar that his dog wears and the fact that it's apparently not a shock collar, even that it doesn't have the capability of shocking his dog. Let's take a listen.
I have multiple collars. I'm going to address the collar thing in a second as well. But I have multiple collars for Kaya, and I put an air tag on them. I put an air tag on all of her collars to make sure that, I know where she's at. And one of the collars that people are pointing to in the from previous days.
Someone said this dog has a better quality of life than most of us do. Animal people online are nuts. Yeah, True. Love that 4 hours of nothing and don't move or you get shocked quality of life. These people, this is his community. They have been brainwashed. Actual online brain rot that they come in here and by the thousands just make things up to satisfy this moron's ego.
The collars that people are pointing to in the from previous days or from like months ago is the collar that is a vibration collar. A collar that I use specifically to communicate with Kaya when she's free roaming at the park or when she is, off leash running around. Okay?
Which is none of the scenarios in which he is currently in. Even for a vibration collar, which is not the same thing as an e-collar or is not the same thing as a shock collar, they have vibration settings, but what he is explicitly saying is that it is a vibration collar and not those things. That's fine if you're going to have them free roam, meaning they're not on a leash, and you've trained them to be that way by using specifically just vibration. Sure, but that's not what's happening, and that's not the situation he's currently in. There'd be no need at home to have any sort of what I am going to call an e-collar, which, because we're going to prove that it is, on his dog while she lays in the background of his stream in his house with all the doors closed.
When you leave your dog to free roam, to go out on the trail or whatever, there are going to be instances where you can yell for her to come back to do recall, but because she's so far away that she can't hear you.
Again, not the case of him currently. I don't care what you do in the Hollywood Hills with your millionaire friends. This explanation is nothing.
That's where the vibration collar comes in. It vibrates. It doesn't actually have any sort of like shocking component. Okay.
Remember that. He says it doesn't actually have any sort of shocking component.
And there are multiple different versions of this. There are the no bark collars that I believe both vibrate and also emit like a large sound, like a loud sound. There are shock collars as well. They all look very similar to one another. Okay.
They look similar, but they don't look identical.
But the vibration collar is what they were pointing to. Okay. To be like, oh my God, he has a collar that he's using to abuse her and shocking her. There are a lot of dogs who use this. Okay. There are also a lot of dogs, working dogs, that use a shock collar as well.
Isn't your dog though, is it? And the circumstances of which those dogs would use a shock collar would have nothing to do with the circumstance you're in. Do you see, again, how the manipulation starts to work? Where you just throw out a very generalized tangent about dogs, the very small percentage of dogs that actually do need a shock collar to reinforce training bad habits out of the dog, or dogs that are used specifically for a certain task, bred for, trained for. Hasan's dog is not that. Hasan's dog is a leisure dog that he has as a pet. It would have no application for using a shock collar on it, other than some sort of narcissistic ego trip where every little meticulous thing that he wants his dog to do, it must do or face the consequences. That's fucking psycho. Anyway, we continue. Here's the big aha moment from Hasan as he tries to flex his big reveal of his vibration collar.
This is the one that people are talking about. Okay, this is the one. This is the one that they saw. It has the capacity to vibrate, and that's it.
It has the capacity to vibrate, and that's it.
Are you happy? That's it. Good. There's the air tag. There's the fucking vibrator. It also has a flashlight component to it.
No prongs. No prongs. No probes. Debunked.
At nighttime. And it also has a tracker on it when she gets lost. If she were to actually get fucking lost, you are able to, it emits a sound. Okay.
And again, you have to love the victimhood mentality of like this big reveal as the big hero that didn't clearly shock his dog, didn't clearly display a terrible pattern of training for his dog, who is a pet, not a canine unit, not a vicious rabid animal that he needs a shock collar for. So again, he's just flat out lied here. And again, we're going to get to the proof, but he's flat out lied here. And in the midst of him lying about it, it's almost baffling to watch how easily he did it and to make the choice to do it. I'm not saying Hasan's a good liar because we're going to see evidence that disproves that, but I'm just saying that this was what he slept on and then came back to. It wasn't in the heat of the moment. It wasn't in the same live stream where he had to make a decision on the fly. He slept, thought this out, and this is what he came up with.
Kaya, come here, baby. Good girl. Place.
And just to top it off, we have to get the dog back to its island.
There are days where Kaya doesn't wear a collar. There are days where she wears a different collar. Okay? This,
What's the different collar?
in and of itself, doesn't actually work in the way that you think it does. Okay?
Here's Hasan, the master dog trainer, going to explain to us what we don't know about his specialized high-level training.
Here. This is the flashlight. Okay? And this is when it vibrates.
So why? Anybody curious about, one, the flashlight, two, the vibrate, and how he's doing that? Anybody curious about what he's using to do that and where it came from? Where's his right arm? That's interesting. It's kind of reaching over here to his left side. Hey, why is his thumb covering this this side of the collar so we could see what's on the inside there?
Vibrates.
What's going on? So yeah, anyway, that is not in any way, shape, or form what actually happened. And we have some supporting evidence. This is a streamer, Lacey, who apparently is another LA streamer. These LA streamers, man, this generation of brain rot streaming is insane. But here he is talking about his dog, who I guess is trained by the same trainer as Hasan's, who I guess is a professional dog trainer in Los Angeles. Let's hear this.
Yeah, Chet, my dog does go to the same trainer as Hasan, but he asked me if I wanted to use an e-collar, and I said no. Like when he first trained Milo, like a few months ago, he asked if I wanted to use the e-collar, and I told him no. Don't? Yeah, no, I told him that. I think, what's it called? I think using an e-collar on dogs is just, like, bro, you could train a dog to do things without using a shock collar.
First off, this dog trainer epidemic of using e-collars is fucking shameful. Again, there's a time and place for e-collars, time and place for shock collars. And again, I think it's a very rare instance, but they are robbing owners blind to instill submission into dogs with a device and not actual training that's reinforced with positive reinforcement, positive treats, positive talk, positive action. Again, not everything can be positive, and I understand that, but using an electrical device to stimulate and contract the muscles of a dog based on the whims of the owner in that moment is psychotic to me. And again, it makes sense for the LA industry to be either tricking people into doing this and acting like it's super safe when it isn't, for a domesticated pet, not a canine unit dog, not a work dog, as Hasan referenced earlier. It's silly to me. Anyway, here's this another streamer, again, LA brain rot once again. This one right here is the icing on the cake. This girl, Valky Ray, she says the quiet part out loud, and I'm so glad that she did. I'm so glad that these little weasels that people look up to, these kids of this generation look up to and act like are the most virtuous of us, the role models for the next generation. They're all a bunch of fucking frauds, and they're ruining your kids' lives, or they're ruining your minds. This is the quintessential virtue signaling, morality grandstanding that you see out of this side of streaming, out of this side of the internet. That is, again, degenerate, brain rot, insane, whataboutism, victimhood mentality craziness. Listen at this.
Oh yes, I have seen the Kaya stuff, and let me tell you, Kaya is, well, first of all, the clip did look horrible. The clip was really bad. It was so bad. And it's understandable why everyone was freaking out about it, but I can...
So why, I'm confused. When we say the clip was horrible, and you can understand why people are freaking out about it. If the clip was bad, what would make it better? If what you saw with your own eyes was bad, and you could recognize that it was bad, what then would rationalize that to make it better? Because at first Hasan said she got her dew claw caught. Then he said he didn't reach for anything, and that was a sin. Then he said that the collar itself only had the capacity to vibrate. Now, he doesn't even own a shock collar. But we clearly saw the dog, at least in my opinion, get shocked. So it would be okay if we saw that video and then we're told it was just a vibration that did that, or that we were told that Hasan doesn't have a shock collar, but it turns out he does, which we'll find out in a second. What would make it better? I've been hearing people say, oh, the clip looked bad. Yeah, it looked bad because it was bad.
The clip was really bad. It was so bad. And it's understandable why everyone was freaking out about it, but I can verify that Kaya is the most loved and spoiled and just the most well-trained and best little baby or big baby that I have ever been around.
Again, that's fair. That's her opinion. It sounds a lot like exactly what Hasan said to his chat, like almost to a T, exactly what he said. I don't know what their affiliation is. It seems like that girl has been around Hasan and that dog a lot, so that could just be that they share the same thinking, or it could be the big boss of political streaming doesn't want anyone going out and saying things that aren't towing the party line. And what she says next would kind of indicate that.
But yeah, it's kind of crazy. You would think that this kind of outrage, we would have seen it towards like the genocide and stuff, but this priorities in this world are not where they should be. But alas.
I could almost guarantee you if I presented Valkyrie with a map of the Middle East, she couldn't point to where Israel/Palestine even is. To get on her high horse is now all of a sudden the moral authority of the conversation to point out that if you think that Hasan shocking his dog into remaining in one place is bad, that you should use that energy to talk about the genocide going on in the Middle East. And if you're not talking about that, but you're more worried about this, then you're a bad person. Where's the energy for that in this moment? Like, you can't have problems outside of this using a real terrible situation, a massive tragedy of our lifetime in the Middle East to shield criticism over this guy being a fucking moron and being a terrible trainer and being a lazy trainer for his dog, that he'd rather click a button than actually spend the time to do whatever he's even trying to train the dog to do. You can't criticize that because there's a genocide going on. That sort of egomaniacal thinking that you can invoke genocide anytime someone is critical of the way that you act. How selfish are you? I can't believe that. I mean, that right there shows you. And again, it's not just her, who again probably knows fuck all about anything to do with politics. Not saying that I do, but that's an easy morality play. Again, this morality grandstanding. When you don't have the answer, genocide. Your energy used there, I'm worried about a genocide. No, you're not. You're sitting here using it as some sort of shield because you don't have an answer for what happens. You'd rather take a little pot shot at the people criticizing Hasan and call them, again, without saying it, call them grifters of politics. This isn't a political discussion. We're talking about the way one man treats his dog. This girl is so far up Hasan's ass, she probably tastes what he had for dinner last night. I don't even have an explanation for that. It's fucking bogus. Then we got the smoking gun. Someone by the name of Westside Tyler. Make sure you guys go subscribe over there. They actually did some digging. They found that not only was he lying about the fact that his collar was not a shock collar, it was just a vibration collar used to retrain when Kaya is off leash and when we're hiking in the mountain, whatever story he made up that didn't make any fucking sense. Here's the reality of the situation. It is an e-collar, shock collar, and it does have prongs, and to cover it up, he tried to tape over them. What an idiot.
Terminals onto which the shock prongs are fitted have been removed, or filed down and covered with electrical tape.
This moron thought that he could take, and by the way, remember, this was a day after the original incident. He thought he would formulate a master plan, get his talking points in order, and then do as little showing of the collar's exposed parts, we'll say, as possible. But even when he did show it, I don't think he realized the level of scrutiny, not because there's a genocide going on, but because you're an idiot and shocked your dog and then showed us that you did while lying about it, that people would go into, and the internet sleuths out there have found that it is indeed have prongs for a shock collar, just as every e-collar does, and that he's either removed the prongs or filed them down and taped over it with electrical tape to make it look like a vibration-only collar. Here is what a vibration-only dog collar would look like. Now, you see there's no prongs there. Just like his chat was saying, no prongs, right? This moron thought that he could file or remove the prongs and put electrical tape over it so that nobody would see that it actually does have prongs. Prong. So yeah, that is strike number one against Hasan's biggest lie that his collar was indeed not a shock collar. Here is strike number 2. I don't know if this is from the same stream as the original, but take a look at the motion that Hasan makes here and tell me, this is not the same one I showed you earlier, but tell me, is he reaching for another Zen can?
A commemorative mug I got from England. Commemorative mug I got from England.
Where's the Zen pack? He was reaching for it. And oddly enough, why did the dog move when he reached for the Zen pack? Does the dog want a Zen? He want to chill out, you know? Pop a Zen, maybe 2. Let's get crazy in here. Let's get weird. Is that what's going on? Nope. Not at all. Mr. Pinocchio Piker over here is clearly wanting to readjust his dog's laying position. This one's even more egregious. Now, again, it doesn't look like the shock is anywhere near what the other one was. And I think what really happened, and we'll get to it at the end of this video, is that Hasan had the shock meter turned up way too much and either forgot about it or didn't realize it and hit the button to stimulate his dog, and it shocked the shit out of his dog. But instead of admitting that, which would have been better off in the first place and gotten him into a better position where he could just tell the truth, hey, I messed up, I accidentally had it turned way too high. But instead, not only did he lie about shocking the dog, he lied about the component to have the ability to shock the dog, and then he lied about it even reaching for something to shock the dog with. Crazy how one lie leads to another, and you put yourself in a position to look like an absolute moron. And the thing is how easily he's doing it. I said this earlier in the video, how easily he's able to just lie and continue the lie and never have to fess up and be honest about it, and people will just eat it up, hook, line, and sinker. This is the guy that's giving you your political news on a daily basis. If we can't trust that he, 1, doesn't have a shock collar, 2, didn't shock his dog, 3, didn't reach for a dog collar remote, how can you trust anything this guy said? Okay, here's the smoking gun, folks. For everything that was told to you, if you came into this video thinking, Wade, you're a liar, Hasan uses a vibration collar, he doesn't use a shock collar, he was reaching for his Zen pack because he needed his daily nicotine fix. If he wasn't reaching for his Zen, he's hitting the dog gate, which made no sense. And yes, his dog, while she did jump, it was because she got her dew claw caught, which we've proven that makes no physical or anatomical sense. If you didn't think at any point in this video that anything I said was convincing, let's just go ahead and take a look at something Hasan did that potentially is the smoking gun of this entire situation.
Why shot? Boom.
He goes to an overhead camera that he has had set up on his own, and I don't know if you guys can see, but when he does so, what's that look like? That looks like an e-collar remote. And not just any e-collar remote. That looks like this little guy right here, the Mini Educator e-collar ET300. Now, let's take a look at this video, and we'll go into, again, little details. Oh, we better move that out of frame because we don't want people seeing that. Why would we not want people seeing it? It's just a vibration collar mechanism. What's the wrong part of people seeing it sitting on your desk? And by the way, sitting on your desk in the same exact spot that you were reaching to in every frame that we've seen of the few that there are apparently many, you shocking your dog or your dog reacting to some sort of stimulus when you happen to reach your left hand down. It's almost like it's in the same exact position. Better move that out of the way. That's interesting.
Last but not least, thank you all
Oh, look. Wait, is that the Valkyrie girl?
for joining us on this wonderful, wonderful Christmas.
Why shot?
Now, why would she be there? And why would she have any vested interest in being a talking head for Hasan? So you see, there's the remote. Boom. There is the ET300 BK remote transmitter. And there's Hasan with the guilty stare. But it's the exact same model. It has a stimulation dial with a safety lock, a stimulation button, a stimulation boost button, which I think is very interesting. Not only can you hit him with the first stimulation, but you could double tap, apparently. And then there are other spots on the actual device as well. Now, the light on, off. What I think happened in this entire thing started out as, I wouldn't say harmless, because it was still a very, I would say, inhumane way to train a dog is by using a shock collar in general. But what probably happened from the get-go of this thing was that Hasan has been, for a very long time, using this e-collar device on his dog. How many times he's overdone it, I don't know. Judging by this clip of Hasan's last dog, it doesn't seem like he has a great grasp on how to train animals at all. Here is apparently a dog that Hasan had before he had the one he has now, Kaya. This one's name was Fish, I guess.
Stay. If you run right now, I'll fucking kill you. Like, I'll actually kill you, okay? In front of everyone. Motherfucker, come here.
Motherfucker, come here.
Yeah, I mean, probably shouldn't be saying that kind of stuff on a live stream talking about your dog. And not only that, but apparently he was doing all that, pulling at its tail and you know, telling him to stay where he was going to kill him so he could get a dope picture on Instagram. Because that's what matters most in this entire discussion is Hasan's image with the things surrounding him, not just the animals, but people that prop him up as if he's some sort of fucking cult leader or somebody that needs some sort of acknowledgement and control and power to feed his fucking ego. Again, Hasan clearly fucked up. If we're trying to break this down, it looks like Hasan clearly has a history of lazily training his dogs to the point where instead of putting in the hard work to try to train bad habits out of the dog or to try to, again, teach them whatever lesson he's trying to teach in that case, and maybe he doesn't even deserve to have the dog in the first place if all he wants it to do is sit behind him on camera for hours on end, like he says in his own words he wants to do with this new dog. That tells me he wants a prop on stream, not a companion, not an animal to be a part of his family. That's very weird. But even if that's the case, again, I don't think you should have a dog if that's the case, but even if it is, to use a shock collar on it to force it into submission is wrong. And what I think happened was, this time when he was trying to hit the button, whatever that stimulation button is, whatever level it's at, it was turned up way too high, and he shocked his dog, more so than he thought he would, which is why he gave a surprised reaction, like, oh shit, what happened? But instead of recognizing he went too far, and tending to his dog, called his dog a baby, chastised it, and then acted like it never happened, lied about it multiple times, lied about the interaction, lied about the collar the dog wears, and lied about actually hitting the button to shock the dog. This is narcissistic, sociopathic behavior. Regardless of what you think of the guy's politics, that's something I can't trust in a person. How are you supposed to trust the person's value system, their views on anything? You can't even trust the words coming out of their mouth. This guy's a fucking scumbag to me. And for the obvious malfeasance in the handling of his own dog, which is crazy and so disappointing and frustrating. And no, you don't have to be an expert in politics to see that. You don't even have to take political sides to see that. You certainly don't have to be told that you're a genocide denier and a Nazi and a grifter if you could criticize this guy at any point for the actions that he commits, because the adults are able to think in more than one plain view field. This dude's a narcissist scumbag. And for everybody that acts like he's some orbiter of a wealth and knowledge and everything else, y'all are brainwashed. If there's people around him seeing him do this to this dog continuously and there's no one speaking up, y'all are a bunch of cowards. If I was around him, I'd smack the fucking taste out of his mouth. But yeah, I mean, I had seen this for a week on Twitter and I just had to talk about it. This is insane that we've gotten to this point. Hasan Piker, fucking fraud, joke, and a compulsive liar, manipulator, narcissist. Someone's got to point it out. I don't care if you're right-leaning, left-leaning, political or not. You see what this dude does and how he manipulates his audience and tries to control narratives around his actions. I'm not going to sit here and just allow it to go over like it's normal. It's not. So, yeah, Hasan, you lied. You got caught lying. Just fess up to it. Be a man. You're in your 30s, I'm pretty sure. Act like it. Stop being a fucking pussy and just say what it is. You lied. You did something bad. You fucked up. Take ownership of it. Anyway, that's all I got. Guys, be nice to your pets. Train them the right way. Again, unless there's an absolute extreme necessary reason for a shock collar, you don't need it. You just need patience, care, communication, and you'll be fine. I'm out of here. See you guys next time. Peace.